Hello, everybody. They just did a Pokemon Direct. They announced a lot of things, and we want to talk about them.
It's interesting
So we're gonna.
because it's technically a Pokemon Presents because they ran it, where the Pokemon Direct is exclusively about stuff on the Switch, which ironically this was. So it could have been, but it wasn't. Just like a weird thing. I don't know why they went out of their way to make it their thing rather than just a Direct, but...
Maybe they had another mobile game that they were going to show and then they just scrapped it.
Yeah.
Just keep calling it the same thing.
Or the 7-minute opening of hashtags.
That was a fever dream, dude. I was like, please.
I mean,
please
it was kind of cool, and then, like, 7 minutes of the 8 minutes in, I'm like, alright, I'm going to go ahead and skip ahead.
Yeah.
I had
it was cool to, like, rehash all of that stuff, and it was, like, a lot of stuff that I didn't even know about or didn't play. It's like scanning cards into your Pokeball to play. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but cool.
Yeah, I had a meeting from the exact window of this, but it ended like 3 minutes left in the presentation, so I wasn't watching it live, but I think similarly I was like 2 or 3 minutes into it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna just jump ahead to when something happens here.
Yeah. Still pretty cool though. I mean, rehashing all the gens, and it made me nostalgic for games that were actually good, which we maybe kind of got this time.
Yeah.
I mean,
is that your segue into Pokemon Home?
It's my segue into Legends, which we can hold off on and talk about the other stuff first. Because I mean, even Pokemon Snap that kind of got overshadowed by obviously.
It looks so cool.
This new Legend game.
That
Yeah, it
looks
looks great. There's some cool aspects to it. I think like taking photos and uploading them so other people can vote on them and see them. That's kind of a cool concept. I don't know how much of that I would actually do, but like it's a cool thing.
I'm looking forward to seeing how people cheat and they get their pictures to the front and it's something dirty.
Yeah.
They're photoshopping their Snap photos.
I thought it was interesting because the first trailer they were showing like the apples, but they were very aggressively not showing the Pester Ball, and I was like, I feel like in this day and age, they're not going to give an item to like bother nature, like haha, suck it. But they changed it to like that
a cease and desist from PETA.
Yeah. They changed it to that like Lumina ball where you can like change. It says they glow, but like it changed the color of Scorbunny's fire and like other kind of stuff like that. So I'm curious to see what they do with that mechanic.
You make Swanna glow to attract predators. That's a great idea.
Just
Torpedo swims up out of nowhere.
Thanks for highlighting him for me.
Yeah, but that seems like a pretty cool thing. I like. I got a kick out of the Tyranitar just walks up, snags an apple, and says, "It's mine. It's mine."
So it looks like it's gonna have cool animations, and
the Venusaur.
The Venusaur was sick. I mean, that was kind of the cool thing of the original Pokemon Snap, was getting the Pokemon to do things, or like witnessing them do things that was out of the ordinary and getting those pictures.
Yeah. Well, you sit in the roll around pod. Do something.
Yeah, I think
the thing that I remember is the Doduo that just like jumps out of the bush and
immediately
making weird noises.
Yeah. For your first 10 seconds into playing the game, it just jumps out and scares you, and you're like, this is what you're in for.
Yeah.
It's a horror game.
But yeah, I think it's such a cool take on just them in the wild, and I know everyone wants anything remotely like that for the wild area. Like anything even kind of close to that would just be...
Yeah, because it's like they've shown that they can do it. It's just whether or not they can implement it in a way that isn't... They pop up when you're 4 feet away and they don't render otherwise.
Yeah.
And then they turn immediately.
And
then just hover away.
I don't remember the number. I wish I had it to pull up, but they said on the website they updated. It was like over this many Pokemon can be captured in it. So I want to say it was like 200 or 300. So you have to assume that it's going to be in the like 200s or 300s and not 4. And a lot of people were complaining, like, "Oh, that's it." Like, yeah, you're not gonna have 1,000 Pokemon to like take photos of. That'd be like just the meatiest game ever. Yeah, like I'd rather than do that.
Wasn't the original just the original?
Yeah, the original 150.
So, yeah, like it's already a step up from that, and I can't imagine they're gonna have more than like however many levels they had in the original, like 10.
Yeah.
So it's like there's like I mean, the underwater stuff looked cool too. They didn't really like show a whole lot of it, but they did hint at it. Like that's kind of a cool idea where you can be going around in the pod underwater. That would be,
yeah.
I'm excited for that.
I think the original one only had like 60 too that you could take photos of. Like it was only Gen 1, but there were only like 60 or so that you could take actual photos of. So yeah, I'm all about it if they have this level of interactivity. If you have a freaking Venusaur jumping off a waterfall doing a belly flop, I don't need all 1,000, you know what I mean? Plus the interactivity with like making them glow or like all the other things you can have them do and whatnot is crazy. And then I saw
all the Pokemon. Go ahead.
The last thing someone pointed out, I thought it was a cool thing. They showed the surfing Alolan Raichu. Like, I wonder if that's a nod to the Pikachu from the N64. Like he evolved and now he's out surfing, living his life.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Dude, I'm excited. I'll play Pokemon Snap.
New Pokemon Snap. That's the only thing I'm like, you guys suck at names.
No, I'll play Pokemon Snap.
It's secondary to the actual game, but I mean, again, like
64.
Having all the Pokemon is way more of substance in the core titles than it is in Pokemon Snap. That's not something that I'm gonna decide to care about.
Yeah, not at all. And then we got into Diamond and Pearl remakes, which it's almost I'm almost inclined to call it like a remaster because it seems like it's the same game, but just like they've upgraded the assets for it, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem like that was kind of the idea, was just more of a port remaster, very true to the original, which I know that a lot of people will like. A lot of people will like the art style, but I was just kind of meh on it. It's like, if it's just going to be pure nostalgia factor, I would rather just go back and play the original games rather than spend however much money to effectively play what looks like a souped up version of the same thing.
$60 confirmed.
I'm for it.
Yeah. So I might have to pass on that one, but
yeah,
I know that people are going to like the art style. I know that people are going to like the nostalgia factor. So
it is $60
I'll
each.
Do it,
that is real.
I never played. Yeah, I never played Pearl that much. I only got like halfway through, so I'm for it. This is the remake for me. It's the same game, but I can play it more easily because I don't have to find a DS and a DS charger.
And that's what a lot of people were saying is like, I mean, this is pure speculation at this point, but people were like, oh, being able to play through Diamond and Pearl without needing 12 HMs is going to be amazing. So
but
we don't know if they're going to cut HMs and just let it be easier, but like that would be a big quality of life change from the originals.
For sure.
Just bring 3 Bidoofs.
I'm really curious if we hear anything else about this down the line in that regard, like if there are any changes at all, whether that's an addition of something or a removal of something from the original game, or if these are just trying to be true, absolutely 100% faithful. If it was in Diamond and Pearl, it's in this game, nothing extra, like same decks and everything.
I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what it is and what they were going for, but I don't know that I'm the target audience for that type of game, but I know that the target audience is going to be out there for it, and there's going to be people who are stoked about it, so.
But
not me!
Nah, this thing seems like it was made for me. I like the cutesy chibis. I'm for it. I think it'll take a bit to get used to the art style because it's not pixely, but it's also not like X and Y, and it's not like Sword and Shield. It's like its own.
It looks like it is in battles, but on the overworld, it's the like chibi kind of 3D sprite look. But in battles, it's kind of like how Sword and Shield is, just with actual background.
But if they're using that as a springboard to be like, okay, we can actually fit more stuff in the game if we do it like this, I'm there. I'm there. If this even is like, hey, if this does well, we'll do the other ones the same way. Give me the collector's edition. I'll buy the builder's pass. I'll spend $700.
I mean, I will be super interested to see what happens with like the post game of this, because the actual game looks like it's just going to be a straight remake. Like, we want it to be true to the originals, but is there going to be anything after the fact, like move tutors or bringing back the I don't remember, was it Battle Tower?
I think it was a Frontier in Platinum. I don't think there was anything in Diamond and Pearl itself. I don't remember though.
So I'd be interested to see if there's anything like that, and if it's going to have any sort of compatibility with Home. I would imagine it does, since it's by the people who made Home, so I would be very surprised if that was not the case. More a question is whether it's compatible with Sword and Shield, which I doubt is going to be a thing, but we'll have to see. But yeah, the post-game is going to be more, are they adding anything new, or is it just kind of a straight port of Diamond and Pearl?
It kind of makes me hopeful that they're going in a direction that maybe we've been talking about as far as like a hardcore fan goes, where, you know, the remakes are more one-to-one, and like someone you want to have a nostalgic experience, but you can get the Pokemon from that region. Then you have something like Legends that we'll get to in a second that's like a pretty big step away from what Pokemon normally is. And then they can have like a Gen 9 or whatever that's kind of back to roots, and just you're battling gyms and whatnot, and make it more maybe streamlined and have more of the battling component that we want, and then have like a Legend something for exploration and lore, and like a remake for a traditional like story playthrough kind of thing.
I mean, piggybacking off of that, I think it's a great idea for them to kind of do like this split remake kind of a deal, where it's like we have the straight remake now of Diamond and Pearl that looks true to the original, but then we have Legends, which looks like a prequel set in like prehistoric Sinnoh, huge open world game that looks like how I think a lot of people thought Sword and Shield would look like. And if that's how they're going to do like this remake period from now on, I'm all on board.
100%.
If it's like a straight remake of an older game, and then thinking outside the box and making a more like grandiose overworld type Pokemon game that really is more for like the hardcore fans like us, as opposed to the casual, like, I play Pokemon Go and I would like to play a Pokemon game casually. Like, if you have both and you're hitting both, then neither party is going to be disappointed.
I'd be super pumped for an Alola free explore adventure game. That'd be absolutely incredible.
Just riding water Pokemon to the different islands.
Oh yeah, just like little like archipelagos you can go explore. Whatever, crazy stuff.
Sea of Thieves reskin as a Alolan Pokemon.
Pokemon pirate ships.
Yeah,
make it happen.
I'm down.
Give me that.
I think
give me that.
I think is really the draw for the three of us. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I think it looks pretty amazing. They didn't give away a whole lot. It kind of seems like it's more like, we know that it's a prequel. We know that it's before this region was built up and you're out exploring, where Pokemon kind of roam free, unhindered by humanity, which is cool. But I don't know if it's just going to be go out and catch Pokemon, fill your Pokedex, and that's kind of the whole extent of it. Like, they did show the battling interface and the new animations that look amazing.
Yeah,
but
where was this?
To know more about like story.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you know what? This is what they were working on. So they had the janitor team work on Sword and Shield.
I will forever be curious if this is what Sword and Shield was meant to be, and then they were like, time crunch, this isn't going to happen. Let's punt on Sword and Shield. Let's just get it out. People are going to be mad at it. But we have all of this in the bank, and we can flip it into Legends, and then people will be blown away by Legends, which, at least in the short term, I kind of am. It looks great. It's more the overworld kind of feel that I think we wanted from Sword and Shield, like the Breath of the Wild kind of feel, where it's just this massive area to explore.
Give me a Pokemon survival game in an open world RPG format with permadeath for my character. Give me this. Let me build a shelter of Geodude bodies to hide from a Garchomp. I'm in.
I think that's specific to you.
Yeah, give it to me, please.
Let me build my Geodude igloo.
I
need a Geo igloo.
The one thing to kind of bring back the Downfall remakes for a second that's super interesting is that it's a whole different studio now. So I think that kind of shows in what they're able to do with Legends, and I'm so down for that. Like, you know, split it up, allow other people to work on things. You know, move on, do stuff that you want to like push this franchise to do, and free up a lot of time and people to do it. And I mentioned it in the Discord, but I honestly feel like at this point, I agree. Like Sword and Shield is just like, all right, let's just get it out. And they can have or did have all the Pokemon in it, and they're like, you know what? Let's cut some of them so that when Legends comes out and there's a Dex cut there, people don't write it off because it doesn't have all the Pokemon in it, and they're like, oh, I'm not interested anymore. So let's deal with that whirlwind now with this game that we know we already had to rush. That way, when this comes out, it's not like the talking point of it.
I mean, it could be any number of factors, but I'm sure it's an amalgam of the things that we discussed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. It looks super cool. It's the overworld game that I think people have wanted, and it's a completely new take into like looking specifically at the lore of Pokemon, which previously we've only gotten through like brief hints and storyline, which I think overall maybe could focus on that even more than they already do, since it's more about like, oh, this is the bad team that you have to fight and they're doing this thing, and you get little snippets of lore here and there. But this is like full-blown prequel lore.
I get slight vibes that they were, because a lot of people were saying, you know, when Diamond Pearl remakes come out, we want to have something like, was it the Delta episode or whatever in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, where you get kind of the backstory with Rayquaza and Deoxys, and you're up in space doing that whole bit. And everyone was saying it'd be cool to have that with Arceus for Gen 4. And it almost seems like they're like, yeah, how can we expand on this? And then it just blew up into its own entry. Like, you know, just make a whole game out of it.
Well, I mean, even like circling back to your point about branching off the studios, I really hope that this is something that's here to stay, that's separated from like even the game talking point. But I really hope that this isn't just a one-off, like we want somebody else to do the Diamond and Pearl remake for now because it's people who are familiar with it, who we trust. I hope that it is each time moving forward, we branch off and have another studio do the remakes or have another studio do a standalone game, so that we can really focus on one game and not be stretched too thin and have to put out a product like Sword and Shield that got a lot of backlash because of the things that it was lacking. I know that there were a lot of people who defended it and love it, but I don't know that with what they said about it, like, oh, we have to cut X amount of Pokemon because there's new animations, and then they cut Pokemon and there's just rehashed animations of not only Pokemon, but characters.
Yeah.
Like a straight rip of previous characters. So it's like, even the excuses aren't adding up. So I'm hoping that this is kind of getting to the point now where it's correcting itself, if only because they're not stretching themselves too thin and understanding, like, if we break this up, it's better for everybody.
Yeah. And to the animation point, I saw... obviously, in the trailer, we see contact moves making actual contact, which is such like a silly thing to be excited for, because like every game is like that nowadays, except for Pokemon. But it's like, yay, finally! And I think it was like Lucario used close combat on a Staraptor and like jumped up and kicked it, and you're just like, where has this been all my life? And then
it looks so
punch
sick.
The bird.
And
punch him.
That's what we want. We want it to be like realistic in the sense that when they're battling, they're making contact. It's not the same animation that we've seen since
Instead
X
of
Y.
When they go like this, and then they go place kick.
But it's kind of like taking the best parts of the Pokken tournament that I don't know that it really took off the way that they maybe thought it would. It was a really cool idea, but I don't know that it gathered enough of the audience. But if they put that mechanic into a core game with that type of fighting style, even if it's still turn-based, you pick your move and then the move has this sick animation, like that's a huge step up.
Kind of like, I don't know if you remember Fire Emblem, but like you put your character next to an enemy, you pick what you're going to do, and then it zooms in, and it has the two people, and they do their two moves, and it zooms back out, and you're back on your map.
Yeah, but even like compared to something like that, this looks even more involved.
Oh, yeah.
You're fighting straight up in the overworld, which you pointed out.
Amazing.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Because
unheard of.
Part of the backlash with Sword and Shield was you meet up with your rival on a bridge and then you have a battle, but the battle, like, overworld, so to speak, is like a grass field.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so I'm not even on the bridge anymore. It's just like those little
just gray mist
details. Yeah, it just kind of takes you out of the experience of the game, whereas this is like totally immersed into this overworld where things are roaming free and you're having to battle them out in the wild. Like, that's super cool.
Yeah. I'm really curious, too, when they're saying, like, you're building the first Pokedex and you're kind of doing this research, but like if that information doesn't exist yet, like you catch a Shinx and it doesn't register like, oh, this is Shinx, it's electric type, this is how big it is, and an entry, like it's just like, cool, here's Shinx. That's all we know. And then you like start to fight and you're like, oh, it's electric type. And like the more you catch or the more you use it, like the more it fills it out. So it's almost like instead of just catching a Rhyhorn, like, cool, got that in my dex. It's like catch a Rhyhorn and like study it and use it and like learn about it and actually build that up.
Yeah.
See, now we're getting into the area where Joel's brain just goes wild and the gears start spinning. It's like, oh yeah, that'd be awesome. And then when the game doesn't have that, we're disappointed. I mean, that's a super sick idea though. Like, plot twist, when you catch things, you get to name them because you have effectively found the species. A Shinx is now a Todd.
Pincer is Dick Pinch.
Forevermore. But yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to learn more about like the story aspect, because if it's just fill your Pokedex potentially with this storyline leading up to Arceus and the Legends, is it like go out and catch something that looks like this? Not even like we know what it is, but like, you've seen this thing in this area. You go out and catch something like kind of like Drew's D&D.
Oh hell!
Like,
go get me a small blue and black quadrupedal creature.
You're like,
star tail and large.
I know what that is, and then you go and catch an Igglybuff, and they're like, "No, we wanted Cleffa. What are you doing?" And you have to go back out and do it again.
This is not the pink puffball I asked you for. This
like,
is not what I commissioned.
I feel like it opens the door in that vein for like quests where you come across a town and they're like, yeah, there's something at night that's like setting fire to our crops and we don't know what it is, and so you like come back at nighttime, like try to figure out like what's doing it and why, or just something like that.
It's a hungry Charmander. He has good intentions. He's just hungry.
Just like, it's not necessarily like, hey, go to this town and do what they want, but like explore and you're filling out your information, but there's just little areas where you can do stuff.
Yeah, and I think that they have a ton of potential for that in this game specifically, since it seems like it isn't like going to be a straight line story-driven game. It's more like exploration. So if while you're exploring, you also pick up side quests here and there, that would be a cool way to implement, like, here's how we can keep it fresh and add more to what this game is, assuming that it's go out and catch Pokemon, and that's kind of the idea.
So, here's my take, though. So I feel like because they only showed you go out and create the first Pokedex, that's the easiest way to capture the widest audience without telling you what the game really is. So it could be, I watched the video about No Man's Sky, so this is where my head's at. Maybe if they just tell you you're building the Pokedex, you're not being told, oh, you're going to be able to do this, and you're going to be able to do this, and you're going to be able to do this. But if they started out, yeah, you're going to be building the first Pokedex, and everybody goes out and fills it out. What if there's like a networking feature and enough people learn about Shinx, for example, and you create like a legendary Luxray den, and then you gotta like go take down this legendary Luxray. Like, what if they're just telling you about the Pokedex? Because that's what nobody's gonna expect from a big open world game, is anything else. They're just going to say, oh yeah, you're just going to go fill in the Pokedex. And then they can surprise you with like, oh yeah, by the way, like we have a frontier town out here. We need you to go help build them. There's a problem with pseudo-Udos. They don't like us cutting down the trees over there because they're losing their camouflage. So we need you to rehome
knock them over.
That's kind of the double-edged sword with what they have, because by giving us so little, we're doing what we're doing right now. We're speculating and thinking like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like this, or this happened? And now it's whether or not they're able to deliver on that. Because if it's ultimately just, no, you just fill your Pokedex and that's the game still looks amazing, but I worry if it gets stale really quickly, if it's just, you catch all the Pokemon and that's kind of the extent of it.
But hear me out. To the casual audience, that's all the Pokemon games are. Is you
and I don't.
But you get to do dodge rolls now.
But that's kind of what I mean. Is like if they give you a base level to like hook people in, they want to be able to deliver thereafter with the other features that it's going to have. And if it doesn't meet up with the speculation of like, oh, I hope that it has this, or this, and instead it's like this other thing that's kind of like I could take it or leave it. So that's kind of the challenge that they have now. And obviously, the game is already probably very much in development. They know what it's going to be. So I'll be interested to see where it goes from here, whether it's going to be a bunch of other added things where we're like blown away, or it's kind of, well, I could take that or leave it, but it still looks cool.
Here's one of the things that really excites me, because it's not Let's Go, like catching style. Like, so in the trailer, it shows, I know, right? They're crawling in the grass and they just chuck a Pokeball at a Shinx out of battle. What happens if it doesn't get caught? Like, does it charge you and then you fight it? Does it run away and you have to chase it? Like,
no, you have to fight it in single combat, not your Pokemon. You started this, not them. They didn't initiate the fight. You now have to wrestle a Shinx.
It's like Animal Crossing, where it's like the tarantulas and it just comes up and shocks you and you wind up back in the town.
You just get zapped.
But it is interesting because they showed both aspects of it. It was like you walk up, you just chuck a Pokeball and catch it, and also you walk up and battle it. So it kind of has both, and maybe it just has to do with how strong the wild Pokemon is, or as you go, it's like, okay, we need you to catch stronger, leveled up Pokemon, but you're going to need to battle it to weaken it, and it kind of like ramps up that way.
They're going to skip the faffing about sessions where you run about and you catch a level 2 Sentret and you can't tackle it.
Old man showing you how to catch a Pokemon.
Hey, you have to turn this ball into Shinx.
It's the young version of that old man.
He's like, yo,
cool.
He's 10 years old.
Dude,
and he has
I just figured out how to catch this Pokemon over here.
Pokeballs.
Yes.
I think
that was weird to me, though. Is they're saying there's no trainers, but they have the Pokeball technology.
Well, it sounds like it has just been invented. Like, they're giving you the first one. Like, now that we have this technology, help us make the decks. And so, like, it's just kind of starting.
But if you have one, you catch one Pokemon. Who do you pick? You get Shinx, Geodude, or Igglybuff.
Those are your choices.
Those are the starters. They're
randomized starters.
Yep.
Speaking of, that's essentially kind of what
Love
they
it.
did with
Love it.
Rowlet Oshawott. Yeah, super cool.
We've seen all the starters
have
now.
Have they ever done that before in any game where they've like given 3 starters and they weren't like from the same generation or whatever? I'm not counting like Mystery Dungeon because that's like take a quiz and we'll assign you one. But
yeah, I mean Mystery Dungeon or like ROM hacks would be the only thing that comes to mind for me.
Because that's such a simple thing, and like how have they never done this before in any capacity? Even for something that's like Black 2 and White 2. It's a sequel to an already existing game. Why not just randomize, or Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon? Like just mix it up and give random starters in that game. So it's like another one of those things like, finally, how is this not been a thought till now.
Well, this is something that we've discussed in the Discord too, but I hope if they get like positive feedback about the randomized starters, that they would think of potentially for Gen 9 doing something other than Fire, Water, Grass, which they've done every generation.
Give me Psychic, Dark, and Fighting.
Yeah, those would have to be the three.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be super cool if they mixed it up. I'm not expecting that they will, but like maybe with this new Legends game, they're kind of starting to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Try new things that I think a lot of Pokemon fans have been wanting. Like, it's that nostalgia factor, but the nostalgia factor is always going to be there. I think a lot of people want something new, something outside the box that they haven't tried before, and this game, I think, hits a lot of those different boxes where we're learning more about lore. It's a prequel. They've never done a prequel. The randomized starters has never been a thing. The overworld, the battle mechanics, like there's a lot of different things going on that's all essentially brand new to the franchise, unless we're talking about like standalone one-offs like Pokken Tournament kind of has that similar battle style. But I mean, a lot coming to the table already just from that short reveal.
Yeah. I do want to bring it up. I'm going to leave a moment because I'm going to say I'm going to bring up leaks. And this is stuff that was not in the video. So if you don't want any knowledge of that or want to know about it, you can jump to this point in the video because we'll be done. But
run away.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up. So anyway, there were a lot of this leaked like super early this morning, which was kind of interesting. It was really funny to watch the internet with all leaks be divided on there's no chance this is real versus like, oh my god, this looks amazing. And a lot of slides were shown. It looked like it was from like an internal, like an investors meeting kind of deal. And it showed, again, this is all before any of the trailer came out. It's the same characters, and like it showed the guy like fighting a Rhydon. But then one of them, it showed like transportation around this giant open world, and it had the main character on a deer, on something that's helping him actually climb the mountain to like get to the top, and then another one where he was flying with a bird, kind of like the taxis from Sword and Shield, but more like on a swing and the bird's holding it. But all three of the Pokemon were completely silhouetted out, so you couldn't see what they were, but they were just straight black. So I think everyone knows Pokemon at this point, that if they were existing ones, they wouldn't have done that, because why bother? So it kind of leaves this door open of Diamond Pearl introduced originally, Sinnoh, a lot of new evolutions, and if they're going to maybe return to that and evolve some other Pokemon that didn't get them, or maybe some new, regional forms or new Pokemon altogether.
No, that's a really interesting point, and I was trying to think back to Diamond and Pearl and like what kind of like the new mechanics were that they brought in, and those additional evolutions like Magmortar and I think Togekiss and
new Eevee evolutions, yep.
Yeah, like if maybe that is what that is, or even disregarding those specific mechanics, if they're going to bring that back with specific Sinnoh Pokemon that have an additional evolution or something like that. That'd be pretty cool.
I'd take all three of those Pokemon are evolutions.
Definitely not.
Fighting type, he's been training with Machamps, the 4-armed Pokemon. He can now climb mountains. Flying Eevee, he can fly you around. And normal type Super Eevee.
The pessimistic view is like, when you fly somewhere in, say, like Omega Ruby, it is kind of like the silhouette swoops down and picks you up. More so probably because they didn't want to have an animation for everything that can fly.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
The fact that it becomes a silhouette, it may just be like a generic, when you fly somewhere or do this X thing, it's just going to be a silhouette because it doesn't want to be anything else.
I could see that.
I could see it just being like a bunch of hype for nothing, but we'll have to see.
I mean, I wouldn't be that upset with them if they're like, okay, you're using a Pokemon that can climb, and they're like, okay, this is the way it is, sorry. In the same way that they had the like Pokejobs in Let's Go. So you'd be like, okay, we want to go over here. I want to go faster. So Snorlax carries you on his tons.
It would be interesting if they had those like missions, kind of like what Joel was saying, where it's like, in order to get to this other area, you're going to need a Pokemon that can do this. Like, say, a Pokemon that can climb mountains, and you'd have to go out and catch something physically, and then bring it over, and then that would expand the overworld into a new area after you hit that mission of, I caught something that can do this to get me to this other area.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
I'd be so in.
It'd be an interesting way to gate it. So, like, there's a whole portion of the land that's on the other side of this mountain, but you can't climb it yet. Similar to an HM, but if you were to get whatever it is, like the call ability, like Sun and Moon or the HM or whatever, and then you can suddenly climb mountains and go to the other side, and, the weather's different because of the mountain, and there's a whole other biome over there or something like that.
Like a volcano.
Yeah.
Drew wants Snows.
Dude, Snome's a cutie. In a powerhouse.
I don't disagree.
Alright, so we'll
It's got the little...
end leak chat here so people can come back in. I'm shocked at the release date because it's Diamond Pearl remakes are late this year and then Legends is early next year. That's such a short time period for that. I feel like they'd want to let people stew with the remakes for a bit before just launching something like that right out of the gate.
They are burning the candle at both ends to an extreme degree.
It's going to depend on like exact timing. Like if it's October versus March, like that's a pretty big window comparative. But I do agree that end of this year, beginning of next year is a pretty tight turnaround for two brand new games. I'll be interested to see if either of them get pushed back. I doubt that the Diamond and Pearl remakes would. But like you were saying, Joel, like if it's a matter of we can bump it back into summer of next year to get a more fleshed out game, I don't know that people after what happened with Sword and Shield would be against such a thing.
Yeah.
Like, all right, like flesh it out, make it look awesome. It already looks great, but if you can really hammer this and hit it out of the park, I think a lot of people are going to be jonesing for more of this type of game.
Yeah.
I really hope that this type of game is received well, and I hope that they don't fumble it by rushing it at this point and like getting something out where it's like, oh well, in practice it was gonna look super cool, but it's really buggy or whatever it is, because I want this type of game to do well so that as fans we get more of that type of game moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And I really hope part of me, this is the pessimist side of me, but when I was watching that trailer, there's a couple moments where the frame rate is awful to the point that I thought it was on purpose and a style, like they were trying to make it look almost stop motion-y. And then I can't remember what it was either like a Badoo or a Combi or something, but it showed them and they were just like really jittery, and then later they were like closer to them and it was all fine. So it's like clearly that wasn't on purpose, and I hope you guys can iron it out. But I just remember when Sword and Shield was coming out and the infamous Nintendo 64 tree was being shared everywhere. Like, look at how bad this tree looks, and everyone's like, it's a year away, it'll get better, and then it didn't. So
yeah, it did not. But even with Sword and Shield, it's like it can't render buildings, much less Pokemon that are X amount of distance away. So maybe this is like the baby step back to that, where it's like you're going to be able to see it. It's not going to look good,
but at least you can see it.
You'll be able to see it. It's like, okay, that's a step up, but it's still not perfect and not what other studios have been able to do. So yeah, I mean, it's still early, hoping that they can iron out those types of things that you pointed out, but I think it looks super cool. I'm excited for the lore aspect. I'm excited for how Arceus kind of plays into that lore and how the prequel aspect of a totally new region with like one town of people is going to play out. But yeah, I would definitely say I'm excited for Pokemon Snap. I feel like that's going to be a good time. I think it kind of got brushed under the rug with the announcements of the other games.
For sure.
It looks solid. Looks like it's going to be fun. Legends looks amazing. I feel like the more we learn about it, it's either going to continue building that hype or kind of dumb it down maybe a little. And the remakes, I'm kind of just lukewarm on it. Like, it is what it is. I know that that's going to hit a target audience of people who want that type of style, that type of remake, like Drew. But yeah, I mean, I might have to see if I'm going to drop $60 on something that looks essentially like a straight reboot of Diamond and Pearl.
I agree. For me, I'm a little on the fence for it just because of the price and the time proximity to Legends. I'd rather just wait a couple more months and play that. But if it has a fleshed out post game and any sort of quality of life change that they've made with breeding, because like I think things like the Destiny knot didn't do what it did until like Gen 5 or 6. So if they like revert that back, that would really suck. But if they keep those kinds of changes, I think I could be persuaded. And honestly, looking at it when I was watching it, it looked to me like the perfect Nuzlocke game, because you can't, like Sword and Shield, there's not like overworld encounters where you're like selecting who you want or trying to dodge them so you can get a random encounter.
Right.
While still being that more traditional experience to really hammer down that Nuzlocke playstyle. And I know a lot of people in our Discord had never done one and are trying them out recently and liking it. And I think this is a really good entry for someone who might want that kind of experience.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. If you look at it as, I'm going to make it my own new Pokemon experience with this new game and play it as a Nuzlocke, like, it's instantly giving you a new feature that maybe isn't in the game, but that would be a fun way to play it, especially if you've never tried a Nuzlocke before. You could just hop right in to this new gen and just go for it. But I mean, good luck to you do that. I remember Diamond and Pearl was pretty tough for Nuzlocke. But...
And it's 3 fire types. I remember that being a choke point.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It's like Ponyta that learns Ember and not another fire move until it's like level 70.
Pretty difficult.
Great.
Yeah, right?
How am I going to work around that?
Wait, is that real? You said no fire types?
I think like native to the decks, the only new fire types were Chimchar and Magmortar, and that's it.
What?
It's like essentially to pick Chimchar if you wanted to have a fire type on your team, because outside of that, it was like legit like Ponyta in that one route, and it learns Ember, and that's basically it. I don't remember.
It's such a pivotal and important typing. How do you just...
Yeah, but we don't even know, like, is this just going to have the exact same dex as Diamond and Pearl? Is it just going to be Sinnoh Pokemon? We don't really know at this point. But yeah, I mean, pretty solid reveal. I think it was definitely better than the Nintendo Direct last week or the week before.
Yeah.
That kind of garnered all this hype to show very little.
True. And I'm curious how we'll go on with the rest of the year. A lot of people were kind of speculating, because it was a Presents, that they were going to be touching on like the anime, the TCG, because the card game has like 2 huge 25th anniversary sets coming out this year. And they didn't. It was just that 8-minute hashtag montage and then 3 Nintendo Switch games. So it kind of like hit all those bases that everyone was hoping for.
And I did not expect for a second that we would get 2 new games, barring Diamond and Pearl.
Yeah.
But effectively 3, if you want to count Diamond and Pearl separately. But I did not think that we would get 2. I thought it was just going to be, here's what the remake is. I was doom and glooming it, assuming that it would be Let's Go Sinnoh, just another casual run-through kind of game. But yeah, a whole new game that looks pretty sweet so far. So
and you know what? Now that you bring it up, this is the first mainline game that doesn't have 2 versions. They just they're doing the one, and that's the one, and they're not splitting it up into like Legends Arceus and Legends Darkrai or something, but it's just...
No, here's what they do. They make a Pokemon cinematic Gameaverse. And Arceus is Thanos.
Drew's only here to spitball off-the-wall ideas.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, here's the thing. Marvel Cinematic Universe with Pokemon.
No, because here's what you do.
Ben and I are doing weekend update, and Drew's rolling in his drunk uncle.
Listen, you hear what they're doing with this Pokemon doing? Yeah, it's gonna be all underground.
But maybe
Yeah,
because there's
fine.
one game, it's gonna focus more on like the community aspect of it, where
Yeah.
it's not like some people buy this version, some people buy that version, but like everybody has Legends Arceus, and they're all going towards that same goal. And maybe there's some sort of community aspect where something has to happen with a group of people before you're able to
Or
finish the game and
even
get
like
those Legends.
You know, I've finished my Shinx entry, and Drew's like, I've done my Badoo one, and we can like share information and like.
Here's what you do. This is genuine. This is not memeing. If you treat it like Death Stranding, but not creepy. So like the more that the players explore, you start to see paths and stuff emerging. And the more you go and do quests with a specific person, towns start to form. And then that's how you start seeing Sinnoh develop. And maybe you can then like get a bridge built or something with your input, and then other players can see that bridge, and you start with this like prehistorically, you got one village, and then like 3 months after release, there's like 2 villages you can go to from there.
This is where you're getting into stuff that like this like pipe dream stuff, like I didn't want to bring up, like in Ashes of Creation, where like there's a little settlement and it builds up and they build a gym and it's in that area and that's what it becomes. That's just that's never gonna happen. So I'm not even gonna like pretend.
Give me that game, I'm in.
But a lot of promising things for the future of Pokemon.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. Yep. Keep the split studios. Keep the studios split. Keep doing that. That's a great idea. And I like that they can give that more traditional thing to something else and let them explore. So that if people are like, I don't want to do an action RPG, they can get the Diamond Pearl remakes to tide them over to whatever's next. And they're close enough that...
I think that's the smartest way to do it, is not only splitting the studios, but like splitting the game releases, where it's like, here's the one that we have for the more casual fans that just want to jump in and have like the nostalgic experience, and here's one that's like much more fleshed out for the more serious Pokemon players who've been playing it since we were 5? So
all 25 of these years.
Yeah. So I hope.
Yeah, I've been playing since I was 1.
I remember I had to read dialogue to Matthew, my brother, when we played, because he couldn't read, but he played Pokemon, so he was like, hey, what does this say? Like, it says this. Okay. And then he would continue playing. Like, that's how long we've been playing these games. And it's like, I hope that they're moving in a direction where they throw a bone to the veteran, more competitive players who are now old and crusty.
Yeah, I'm hoping they've learned to stop hand-holding.
Yeah.
So much.
I would love if
it'll be interesting to see how much is in Legends of hand-holding.
I want Legends to start like Breath of the Wild does, because Breath of the Wild just goes, look at this neat hill, good luck, and that's it. And I would love that.
Yeah. Like, oh, isn't this cool? Good luck.
Just figure it out. You're not even in the town yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you can see, like, it's like down the mountain, so like you have an idea of where you want to go, but you don't necessarily have to go there if you don't want to. You can go down the west side and get mauled by a Garchomp, and
we're doing more speculation.
It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see news on all 3 of these announcements.
Yeah.
I think they all have incredible potential. I will play Diamond and Pearl remakes, but I'm also in a niche market where that's the gen I fell out of Pokemon on and then came back for Sun and Moon. So I skipped over Black and White too. So if they did another one for that, I'm the target market, I guess. I'm the guy that like, I'm gotta stop playing Pokemon for 5 years. No.
But yeah, leave us your thoughts in the comments. Definitely want to hear what other people think. Are you stoked about the remakes? Are you stoked about Legends? What do you think about Snap?
4-person Soul Link Diamond and Pearl.
Sure, whatever.
Drunk Uncle signing off.
But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Like Ben said, let us know your thoughts. I'm curious what starter you're going to pick of the 3 random ones.
Touche.
I know who I'm picking.
But he'll never tell. And on that note, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.